My name is Darlene Tucker. I'm 57 years old, and welcome to Harlem, USA. I met my second husband who introduced me to cocaine. I was 29 years old. All that got me was this. It was a bad time in my life. My second husband is the one that infected me and never told me. I was told when Roosevelt Hospital called me and told me that he was in there. And it was an ugly situation. We were divorced and I had gotten married again, and now I get this news. And it was out and I was pregnant. I was furious. After the birth of my son, at 3 months he developed a fever. And they told me that he had the virus. His stay at the hospital was terrible. Me and my husband had to stay in there. We were sleeping on the floor because the nurses wouldn't feed him. They wouldn't even go in the room. People were just treated terribly.
HIV is really the medical challenge of our time. In many ways, it cuts right at the issues that many people find most compelling about providing care, which is the impact of lack of resources and sometimes a lack of social equity that leads to disproportionate burden of illnesses, oftentimes communicable illnesses like HIV, on the world's poorest and most disenfranchised populations. It may be that, we're continue to be on the cusp of just remarkable scientific breakthroughs, but we're not there yet.
I was brought in by the ambulance. Dr. Gordon is a great doctor. I wouldn't trade him for anything. Some doctors have a way of talking down to you. He never did that. Your self-esteem is shot anyway. You're a recovering addict or alcoholic. And you're trying to recover. You slip up, you relapse. It's a part of recovery. Once I started getting my care here, and I had a doctor that I could really talk to that answered my questions. And when he talked to me about certain things, it made me want to know more. I think people should be educated, and Ryan White, they have been instrumental in that, especially with women of color.
One of the most amazing recollections I have of these early days when I got to know Darlene acting as the attending on service was coming to her room after she'd moved from the ICU to the general medical floor. And while she was bedbound and probably 80 pounds and barely able to lift her arm, she had her young son coming every night to the hospital to sit at her bedside so that she could stay on top of his homework assignments.
We have the special needs clinic here, which was great. Dr. Gordon sent me.
The special needs clinic is a really remarkable mental health clinic that really focuses on the needs of the entire family. Those kind of services, I think, helped keep your family together during that period of time. And without Ryan White funding, I don't know where we would have marshaled those resources. If a person has untreated mental health disorder or chemical dependency issues, or has access problems or transportation issues or housing challenges, or not access to a stable supply of food, each of these things, either individually or collectively, can result in them not being able to access the services which are available to be utilized. When we talk about these programs that support not just direct medical care, but housing and access to care coordination, they're just as critical as the antiretrovirals.
I don't believe that if these programs didn't exist, that we would have the quality of life that we have, or that any of us would be living this long.
I think one of the things that HRSA, through the Ryan White Care programs, really identified early on was that the barriers to engagement in care that exist for many vulnerable populations need to be overcome. She received mental health services from a clinic here on her medical center that receives Part D resources. Similarly, the treatment adherence program that she was in when she first sort of acquired the ability to continue to take her medications in a reliable fashion was funded from Part B dollars. So she's an example, I think, of a person who had incredible internal drive and ability to sort of change a pattern which was lifelong and pursue a healthier life, but it was really made possible by the programs that were supported by the Ryan White Care Act. We applied for a HRSA SPINS grant in 2007 built around the notion of something called a continuity of care record, standard snapshot of very critical demographic and clinical and care coordination information. One of the things that certainly contributes to the fractionation of care and discoordination of care is these silos of clinical information that exist in different care sites and social service agencies. And so we asked the question that whether or not we could put that power in the hands of consumers. And what we found was that people were eager to be trained. Many times for some individuals, it was the first time they'd ever sat down at a computer terminal and opened up a browser, and were quite liberated, not just by learning how to access their medical record, but how to take that access and use it to promote a sort of self-efficacy and understanding chronic illnesses that they've been diagnosed with or medications. The SPINS grant that was made possible by HRSA, I think we demonstrated really for the first time that in vulnerable populations with marginal health literacy will adopt a personal health record at rates similar to more affluent, more educated populations.
Well, if I'll get my nursing license. I'm going to say when I get my nursing license, I'm going to work with young people in HIV, especially for the girls, because they believe the good old okie doke the boys tell them about why they don't need condoms. They can give you 50 reasons why they shouldn't use them, but can't come up with one good reason why they should. I decided I was going to educate myself on the virus, and I went to several programs. I went and got certificates. I graduated from ARIVE. I went to SMART, which is for women that are positive. And we had nutrition, computer classes. Fridays we had medical.
So as you can tell, as Darlene tells the story in the courses that she took, it's changed the way you and I talk about any of your health issues. You've become incredibly sophisticated in your understanding of how all the pieces have to fit together and the side effects and the challenges. When you come in and tell me something, I listen, because I know you know your stuff. And when you came in and told me that you wanted to go back to school and do nursing, I think you'll do it. I think you'll do it. It's a great goal.
My family is very important to me because I don't ever want them to feel the alienation that I felt from my own family, and I don't want them to alienate from one another. And for my granddaughters, I don't want to leave that example. I don't want them that grandma was a bum, I'm sorry my daughter saw it, but I really, for my grandchildren, I want better. This time I'm not gonna stop. I know if I keep coming here, I won't.